Welcome again to the Love and Peace Kitchen. So here today we're going to make sesame, either pecan or walnut and sesame biscuits. So we have our ingredients here. We have 150 grams of butter, vegan margarine or coconut oil, depending on whether you're vegan or simply vegetarian. And here we have 1.5 cups of self-raising flour. If you don't have self-raising flour, use a plain flour, cake flour, and add 1 teaspoon of baking powder to each cup. So if this was plain flour, we would have added 1.5 teaspoons of baking powder. And we're going to add to that 1/3 of a cup of roughly ground walnuts. You can use pecan nuts if those are more available too. You could even put in hazelnuts. Really, what is available in your country and what your choice is. And here we have the sesame seeds, which we're going to use before we bake the biscuits. And we're going to add to the butter, we'll add 1/2 cup of brown sugar, soft brown sugar, and 1/3 cup of icing sugar. So you will find these ingredients listed below the video. So now we have to cream in an electric blender. Of course, you can cream by hand if you've got good muscle and you want a good workout. Of course, it will work by hand. In fact, I think sometimes it does work better, but you have to have time on your hands as well. So I'm going to use an electric mixer to cream the butter and the sugars together, and then add my flour and pecan nuts. And 1 teaspoon of vanilla essence. And be sure to scrape down the bowl once or twice during mixing to properly incorporate the fat and the sugar. So this is nicely creamed now, so I can add my dry ingredients and get those mixed in. Have a look at this mixture. You can see that it is a little bit crumbly. So if you get a situation like this, because flour can differ, so you might have 1.5 cups of flour, but because the flour has variation, it might be it might absorb more liquid or less liquid. So I'm going to have to add to this about 1 tablespoon of a liquid. And you can now see a proper biscuit mixture. It's well combined and ready to roll. So this mixture is going to be able to make about 30 biscuits, thereabouts. I've greased my tray. Now, in my previous recipe, which were the cinnamon biscuits, I used a parchment paper. You have a choice. You can use parchment paper on your baking trays, or simply butter your baking tray, grease your baking tray. The old term, of course, was buttering it, but now these days we try not to use that many dairy products, or certainly, if at all, in sympathy with the cows, really wanting to create a shift towards complete non-violence. Get a nice round, And then of course you can just pop it into your sesame seed and roll it around a little bit, and covered in sesame it goes onto your tray. And so now we've got our tray here. This will make anything between 24 to 30 biscuits, depending on what size you're rolling them. Right, and so we have those ready for the oven. And we'll be baking these at 175 degrees for about 15 minutes. They'll turn slightly in color, and the sesame will toast very, very slightly, and you'll see when they are ready.